Breaking off from the moon comes crashing down a shining sword. As the blade wedges itself into the ground, it happens to garner the undivided attention of our protagonist, Leon, who lays merely a few feet away. Astonished at this sight, a puzzled Leon makes his way to the sword, only to hear a simple question. "Are you worthy?" asks the blade itself. Earlier that day, Leon is busy sparring with his namesake, another swordsman named Leon. There is a clear difference in the skills of the two fighters, as the latter manages to knock our protagonist to the ground. However, he gets back to his feet, only to be beaten away again. Even the audience begins to feel sorry for our hero that despite his efforts, Leon has achieved victory without breaking a sweat. Extremely frustrated, our boy Leon seeks an abandoned corner and hosts himself a pity party. How dare the other Leon have the skills to be the strongest swordsman in the academy, and all while looking drop-dead gorgeous. He cannot even be pissed at the guy for too long as he eventually shows up and lends our protagonist a hand to get up. Who said chivalry is dead? A girl named Chloe suddenly comes rushing out and begins to scold the moody boy for picking a fight once again, and much to his embarrassment, points out a cut on his hand and offers to bandage it. Having been humiliated enough for the day, Leon walks away in a huff. Later that night, he has a minor breakdown and relives his frustration by sparring with a practice pole. Calling it a minor breakdown may be an understatement, as he manages to smash his wooden sword to pieces and then screams at the moon. Someone give bro therapy. As bad as Leon's day has been, it is about to get a whole lot worse, as the moon does not take kindly to being screamed at. It releases a meteor that is heading right towards our protagonist. Wait, what? Back at the castle, the other Leon is celebrating his 17th birthday. He tries to start a conversation with Chloe, but she is more concerned about where our hero has disappeared. She leaves the room, which prompts a discussion between Leon and an attendant about his royal lineage. He explains that it is better that it remains a secret until the prophecy comes true. As if the shining bright light being emitted from the sword is not enough, strong winds suddenly surround it, making Leon even more hesitant of approaching the weapon. His hope that he imagined the sword speaking to him is immediately dashed as the blade tells him to stand up. Once again, he observes his surroundings with the faint chance that he is not actually losing his marbles and somebody is trying to prank him. The sword does not stop here and begins psychoanalyzing Leon by telling him that despite all his efforts, all he receives in return are defeats and taunts. So if he actually considers himself worthy, he should take a hold of the weapon and prove his words. Taking a step back, Leon explains that if his guess that the blade is actually holy is true, it means that he would have to pay a price for wielding it. The consequences seem too vague for the boy, and he insists that purely his efforts will lead him to victory. Just as he is about to bid adieu to the holy sword, it suddenly informs him that Leon has proved his righteousness and he deserves to pull it out. Grabbing the handle, our hero has his very own King Arthur moment as he pulls out the blade, sending bolts of electricity flying to all sides. It introduces itself as Elcid and refers to the boy as Master Leon. As far as first impressions go, I have definitely had better ones in kindergarten, let's not go there. In another realm, an elvish creature is questioned on why he decided to give Leon the holy sword, even though he is not part of the imperial family. He explains that he does not consider the other Leon ready for such a responsibility and that he lacks the determination and effort. However, our protagonist has a spark in him and could prove to be stronger than even the former hero. The next morning, Leon wakes up in bed extremely hungover. Just as he is about to write off last night as a dream, he catches sight of the holy sword before him. A creepy blue spirit reveals itself from inside it and explains that it is the spirit of the sword. It then informs Leon to visit the drill room where he would show off his sword skills so it could determine how to train the boy. Leon is clearly on tenterhooks as he enters the school grounds with the spirit by his side. It mentions the boy's anxiety and how they will not be able to practice unless he has more confidence. The sword suddenly starts glowing, as does his hand which is wielding it, and a mark of wings suddenly appears on the upper side of his palm. Elsid explains that the mark would act as a sheath, and he would be able to take out the sword at any time along with summoning the spirit. Moreover, since nobody else could see it, it would be able to give instructions to the boy without any issues. Things take a slightly weird turn as the supposed holy being reveals that he would also be sleeping with Leon. Let us hope that they keep their stamina for the battlefield. The spirit then observes Leon's form with a wooden sword. Although it is impressive, the boy does not understand the extent of his strength, as the sword is reduced to garbage after only a few swings. Elsid does not reveal too much yet, except that his basics are acceptable and that they would now be focusing on his body movements. He is then made to run laps around the ground while doing handstands and other strange exercises, and although he is clearly exhausted, his determination is enough to push him an extra mile. Meanwhile, the elf is impressed by Leon's resolve and does not seem to regret his decision of entrusting the sword to a mere commoner. He is sure that Leon would eventually become a swordmaster, but he does not wish for his successor to stop at only that. He begins to observe demonic beings that the boy could face to increase his skills. Whose idea was it to give responsibility of such a young boy to this crazy dude? Back in the human world, Leon is dozing off in class. The exhaustion of the early morning training seems to have had an effect as he catches up on some Z's. The spirit wakes up the boy and begins a lecture on the importance of sight. It emphasizes on the role of one's eyes in battle by saying it is the most essential factor between victory and defeat, while revealing that their training would now truly begin. Seated at the back of the classroom, Leon is directed by Elsid to use the teacher writing on the blackboard ahead as a focal point and try to memorize everything that he sees in 10 seconds. Panicking slightly, the boy tries his best to capture every inch of his teacher's face before his time is up. However, once Leon's eyes are closed, instead of asking about the teacher, the spirit inquires how many lines were written on the blackboard. Obviously, Leon does not have the answer and shamefully accepts defeat. The spirit then explains that he needs to widen his gaze and not only focus on something that is supposedly important. So every time he looks around, he should attempt to memorize everything around him. Our protagonist does not have the balls to tell the sword spirit that this is practically impossible, and instead strains his eyes and begins this new exercise. Such is his focus that even his classmates begin to take notice, in particular the other Leon. After class, Leon looks like he smoked some of the strongest weed ever made, as his bloodshot eyes are truly a thing to behold. Even his head feels like it is about to burst open, as that intense exercise seems to be taking its toll. As always, instead of sympathizing with the boy, the spirit has an explanation ready that since his abilities have been dormant for so long, his body will take time to accept them. On the way back home, it then proceeds to test Leon by asking him questions about his surroundings. Still getting used to this new habit, his answers are usually incorrect, but the spirit does not mock him in any way. Finally, on his bed, our hero cannot help but scream in agony while clutching his eyeballs. The pain still has not gone away, but neither has his determination, as he insists that he is ready for more. Elsid appreciates his resolve and reveals that his strengths are admirable, but they need to essentially work on his weaknesses. For that reason, from henceforth, if the spirit asks him about his surroundings and he is wrong, it would be allowed to punish him. The boy is taken aback at this new arrangement, but agrees. Elsid warns him that the punishment should not be taken lightly, but Leon, suddenly energized, informs his sword that he can bear anything. Elsid gives him a heads up, but nothing could have prepared the boy for the electric shock that goes through his body. Such is its intensity that even his face and clothes get scorched and turn black. With a slight grin, Elsid reveals that it accidentally upped the voltage and that the boy's punishment would not be as severe. Do holy weapons have no morals? The poor kid could have been electrocuted. There should be child protection for this. An entire month of training his body and mind then ensues. From running laps in the ground, to intensely focusing on his teacher in class, to even practicing handstands in his room. A minor miracle that he did not complain even once, because let's be real, a weaker man would have folded me. The fruits of his efforts taste exceptionally sweet for our young protagonist, as even the stingy spirit itself has words of appreciation for the boy after he was able to answer all its questions correctly. Leon cannot help but swing his fist to the sky as a form of victory. However, his happiness is short-lived as his arch-nemesis and namesake, Leon, suddenly shows up. Blue-eyed and gorgeous as ever, he expresses his concern over why our protagonist has not challenged him to a duel in so long. He also admires the training Leon is putting in. However, our hero is obviously triggered at the very presence of his rival and glares at him. This does not put him off as he sits down and asks the boy to do the same. His curiosity gets the better of him, and he does so. The other Leon then begins by talking about how he belongs to a noble family and how he only sparred with the boy for entertainment. This does nothing to improve our protagonist's mood, as the glare seems to be fixed permanently on his face. However, when the other Leon mentions a wager, he immediately brightens up. A duel with actual swords would take place, and if the other Leon emerges victorious, our hero would become his subordinate. But if our hero manages to win, he would receive anything he wished as a reward. These terms seem quite acceptable for the boy, and he agrees, thus setting a new intensity to this rivalry. Despite his apparent confidence against his arch-nemesis, Leon begins to get the shivers soon as he is gone. Even the spirit is embarrassed while watching the boy have a panic attack on how he will defeat Leon after training for just a month. Despite his efforts during these past 30 days, he reveals that he does not feel that strong. If a one-eyed Holy Spirit could roll its eye, Elsier would probably have done so, as he clearly looks annoyed. He explains to the boy that his abilities are still new to him, so obviously he will not feel them immediately. But rest assured, they are present inside him, and they have made him stronger. These words seem to calm Leon's nerves, as he even manages a nervous smile. His first real test since his training is a physical check organized by the school. While waiting in line, our protagonist recalls how he ended up 9th in the previous race, while Leon ended up 1st. Since Leon is a noble, he has a separate race, but this does not deter the boy who is intent on defeating his arch-rival for the very first time. The race would consist of a 400-meter lap around the ground twice, which is practically peanuts in comparison to Leon's intense practice sessions. Completely focused, the boy is raring to go, and soon as he hears the signal, he begins to sprint as fast as he can. In only a few seconds, he manages to gain a significant lead over the rest of the racers, and even Chloe, who is observing him from the audience, is shocked at how much he has changed. He crosses the finish line in record-breaking time, which is so unbelievable that the instructor has to actually check if he cheated and used aura. However, the boy is in the clear, and he receives appreciation from all sides. Once he finally gets a moment alone, Leon asks Elsid how he has become so OP all of a sudden. The spirit smirks and reveals that the electricity shocks he gave as a punishment actually served a deeper purpose, as they enhanced his neuromuscular system, which basically made him crazy fast. Note to self: electrocute yourself and become Flash. Despite his amazing time, Leon still manages to come out on top, but the boy is close second. Not losing hope, the determination is evident on Leon's face, as he is sure his chance will come. Back in his room, and finally having some much-deserved rest, Leon asks Elsid for details on what they shall be training next. Does this dude ever think of anything except getting stronger? Like, bro, go touch some grass, maybe talk to a woman. Elsid seems to have the same views, as he discloses that the boy has done enough of eye exercises, and it is probably time to move on to something new. He mentions working on Leon's aura, much to his disappointment, since he wishes to start practicing swordsmanship ASAP. Although his eagerness is appreciated, The spirit explains that he cannot move forward to swordsmanship while just having trained his body, and that it is of importance that he actually receives some real-life experience first. In a way, he is telling the boy that taking baby steps is the best route to becoming a grandmaster. However, far as real-life experience goes, Elcid cannot think of anyone who would duel Leon for the time being. Its prayer is answered the next day as a group of nobles intercepts our protagonist in the hallway and begins to pick a fight with him. Apparently, they did not take kindly to a commoner defeating them at the race and begin to accuse him of cheating without the instructor's notice. Talk about a bunch of sore losers. Leon maintains his composure and simply informs the boys that if they have any doubts, they should bring it up with the instructor. Their conversation is interrupted by the appearance of another senior noble, Sir Elmont, a distinguished member of the Bourbon family. However, instead of cooling down the situation, Elmont actually adds fuel to the fire and suggests that the commoner be punished for his insolence. Turns out, before Leon's training, Elmont had always ended up second behind Leon, so finishing third behind a mere commoner on this occasion is a matter of shame for his honor. Elmont suggests that a series of duels should take place between Leon and the rest of the nobles, under the supervision of an instructor. The proposition appears to be highly suspicious as the nobles have a lot of authority at the school, but the boy agrees under the condition that he would face a single noble per day. Once alone, Leon discloses to Elcir that his opponents may use aura and he is completely unprepared for it. The spirit is already 2 steps ahead and has prepared a demonstration. Elcir summons a hologram which mentions the entire extent of Leon's abilities from his level, which is 18, to his strength, agility, aura, and sword mastery. For comparison, it then brings up Elmont's stats, which turn out to not be as impressive as the boy previously thought. Not only is he at the same level as Leon, but the only ability he is clearly superior in is aura. The spirit reveals that, as the child of a countess, Elmont has primarily depended on the usage of elixirs to boost his powers. However, if not used properly, they are no different than a regular edible. Far as his training goes, Leon has suffered much harsher coaching in the past 1 month than the so-called noble has received in his entire life. This is a huge morale booster for our hero as he realizes that he has been underestimating himself all this time. He is definitely stronger than almost all of those brats, and his battles shall prove to be nothing more than a practice session. The day of the duel finally arrives and Leon runs into Instructor Helmut on his way to the battleground. Although he is known to be just, the man cannot help but appreciate the boy's determination and secretly admits that he is rooting for him against those snobby nobles. This gives Leon even more reason to emerge victorious. His opponent is a dimwit by the name of Jeff Heinrich. Frankly, he seems like the type of dude with a single brain cell who would be the first to die during a zombie apocalypse because he tried taking a selfie with the creatures. Not wanting to engage in any trash talk, Leon requests Helmut to immediately start the fight. Saying that he has even 1 brain cell would probably be doing him a favor as Jeff rushes at his opponent right from the beginning and throws all tactics out of the window. Leon's optical technique pays off as he can predict Jeff's attack from a mile away and with a single strike, knocks his opponent down. A hush falls over the hall as Helmut announces the match is over. However, Jeff gets back to his feet and insists that the fight is still on. Elcir tells Leon not to end the fight with a single strike this time and instead try to use his opponent as a practice session. Ouch. Turns out even holy spirits have sass. Not having learned his lesson the first time, Jeff once again charges at our hero with full force, but Leon easily dodges him. His optical technique has been perfected to the point that he always seems to be 2 steps ahead of his opponent, and it does not help that the idiot's moves are clearly readable. Jeff then decides to use his aura in a last-ditch hope to save the bit of respect he has left. However, it is like handing a revolver to a child as he has no idea how to utilize it effectively. Although he has gotten stronger, his movements are still predictable, allowing Leon to dodge them with apparent ease. Our protagonist then spots an opening and, taking advantage of it, strikes Jeff on his thigh. The so-called noble barely has the chance to start trash talking again before Leon then finishes off the duel with a succession of lightning-fast attacks that knocks his opponent out. Hopefully, he'll think twice the next time he messes with a mere commoner. The crowd goes crazy as none of them had expected that the underdog would come out on top. Leon's victory is well discussed in every corner of the school, and the fact that the rest of his battles are similarly one-sided begin to make him quite a popular figure among the students. In no matter of time, the only opponent remaining is Elmont. As Leon enters the battlefield, he is mentally prepared for a tougher battle in comparison to his previous fights. Elmont is as cocky as ever as he mocks Leon for reaching this far, but the boy is unfazed. He recalls a mysterious ability titled Vision Swordsmanship that he had seen in Elmont's stats, and even though it is only at level 1, it seems like a skill he should be wary of. Surprisingly, first blood goes to Elmont as a strike from his aura-filled sword grazes the side of Leon's cheek. He then proceeds to try and convince the boy to come under his wing, to which Leon replies by a quick strike that also leaves a mark on Elmont's face. This definitely appears to be an equal battle that will go down to the final strike. Even the even-headed Elser is clearly irritated by Elmont's trash talking, and it pushes Leon to put an end to this leader of the dimwits. Elmont is taken aback by how Leon appears to have had a sudden increase in his strength, and it takes all of his power to block the boy's strike once combat begins again. The entire crowd is shocked that the mighty Elmont is on the defensive, and this appears to pressure the nobleman even more as he attempts to bring the match back in his favor by a series of strong strikes. However, Leon's optical technique aids him in predicting all the attacks and dodging them completely. This only frustrates Elmont further, as he cannot believe that a commoner is giving him such a tough challenge, all without the use of aura. Even Helmut, who is constantly observing Leon for any signs of aura, is shocked at the boy's pure physical ability. The nobleman has no choice but to unleash his secret technique. He charges at Leon and pretends to thrust his sword, but switches his movement at the last second to stab the boy. Any normal fighter would have been hit directly, but all of Leon's days of intense training pay off as he uses every ounce of his agility to dodge the attack and strike Elmont right on his shoulder. With only one arm for combat, the clear advantage is with Leon for the first time since the duel started. However, his opponent is as stubborn as the rest of his group, and instead of calculating his next move, he simply catches sight of Leon's deteriorating sword and decides to break it completely. As he attempts to do so, Leon unleashes a series of quick strikes that send him flying through the air, even knocking a couple of teeth out. Looks like a quick visit to the dentist is next up on his schedule. Even Elser is proud of Leon's victory and mentions how impressive it is that the boy has opened the gates to excel in such a short period of time. Such high praise from a Holy Spirit proves that this was no minor achievement. That's it for the first part of Leon and Elser's adventures. I'm definitely excited to see how the story progresses for our protagonist and if he goes through any more power-ups. Let me know what you think of the story and if you'd like to see more of this genre in the future. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell to be notified of any latest uploads. That said, see you in the next one.